of your experiences comparatively during the hour. So thank you so much for being here. Erin.
My name is Erin Carlson, mental health. I family counseling service in Aurora, suburbs of
At North Central. Thank you so much for being here. Pastor Paul
Carlson, and I'm in Bolingbrook, Illinois. I'm a retired pastor. I've been retired for 3 years, so
how's
life is good. Life is good.
Awesome.
And,
good times.
Get to play with grandkids
fun.
It's good.
Now, are you
My daughter-in-law.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
I grew up in the Chicago area, college in Rock Island, Illinois. So that's a small Christian college.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you being here. And who's this
pleasure.
lovely lady to your left?
I'll let her introduce herself because she always speaks for herself.
Andy Carlson, I'm a misfit here. Actually, I didn't go to faith-based or a Ivy public university student.
But we're glad to have you here.
Yeah, I'm kind of here for and talk about. We're going to talk about hunger, which is something that we both are.
There are 8 Ivy League schools: Brown, Columbia, Cornell, Dartmouth, Harvard, Princeton, University of Pennsylvania. Do you know the last one?
I wasn't really listening. No, I was kidding.
Yale. Thank you so much for being here, Michael.
No, I just didn't want to say it, to be honest with you. There's something of a rivalry there, but that's okay. I mean, Yale, safety school, whatever you want to call it.
I knew it. I love it. Yeah. So why did you choose your school?
So for me, it was a constellation of factors. When I was an undergrad, I was an engineer, and I kind of thought I always wanted to be an engineer since I was a little kid. So I was looking at technical schools and strong engineering programs. And but I also wanted to do sports in college. I was being recruited to run track and field. And so I had a couple of things going on. I wanted a school where I could be on the team and compete, and a school that had top-notch academics. And so when kind of go time came, Cornell had a couple of different things going for it. It had an incredibly broad array of courses because my interests are varied, and they had one of the top engineering programs in the country, which appealed to me. And the track coach took a shining to me. So
shining,
yeah, wow. in a very good way. You know, it was kind of cool to be actually recruited to do a sport at a top shelf school. And when I went to visit, I don't know if you've ever been to Italy, and a great place to go to school. And it was really an easy choice for me. Honestly, nothing was even close in my mind. So it worked out well.
Okay. Anyone else? Why did you choose your school?
So I had actually kind of a really different path from that. I was all over the place trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do. I actually started off at a at a pretty big state school that shall remain nameless. But I spent
Is
about
there a warrant out? I mean,
she is wearing a hat.
Just
low profile.
No. It's not any school we're going to talk about tonight. But I started off a semester there, and it was big. It was a big commuter school, and I very quickly realized that it was just not what I wanted. And a lot of the people that I went to school with absolutely loved it there, but I didn't feel like I got enough personal attention. I was struggling to find my place in the campus, and it just really wasn't a good fit. So what did I do? I transferred to the largest Catholic university in the entire country, DePaul.
All right.
Yeah. So, and honestly, I had quite the opposite experience there. And I loved it from the second I set foot on the campus. I went to school for psychology. They have an amazing program there, amazing professors. And honestly, the location in Lincoln Park is probably one of my biggest deciding factors. So
how big is DePaul?
22,000 students.
Wow.
So they have, it's very, very
country.
big.
Is it undergrad and grad, or is that just undergrad?
I know that they have, it's like a 15-to-1 ratio, and somehow they maintain a pretty good faculty to student ratio. So,
what school would you have go to your alma mater? What was your plan B?
I originally was going to go to another state and then decided that I wanted to belong on a campus or like I was known on a campus. So that's why I chose to go to small schools.
I chose to go to Augustana College because I got accepted.
There you go.
Was at Augustana College. She was a year ahead of me. And so she was there. We lived in Keene, which is about an hour from Augustana, from Rock Island. So there was a matter of being close, but not right there with the family. And having been to the school several times for events, it was a Lutheran school. My dad was a Lutheran pastor. And so we knew the school, and there was a scholarship of $250 that was really
All right.
helpful at that time.
All right.
So it was basically a matter, and they said they wanted me to come, and so
So there you are.
there I am. I went there.
You said your sister preceded you at Augustana.
Mhm.
Is anyone else legacy? Does anyone have family who?
Yes, that's why I chose DePaul is because my aunt was the first in the family to attend college, and she attended DePaul University. My experience with even having a thought about going to college because she took me to campus with her and kind of gave me that experience to show me what college was like, what it's like to go to college classes. So that was one.
What was her major?
Her major was marketing,
And what was yours?
accounting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then after I went in school and graduated, my mom went to DePaul. So
Oh, wow.
keeping it in the family. So
Love
yes.
it.
That's great.
Yeah.
My younger sister went to Augustana as well,
Nice.
and one of my sons, two of my sons, started there, and ended up transferring to other schools. And my dad went to Augustana Seminary, which was on the campus of Augustana College.
Oh, wow.
So
Will any of your children go to your school? Do you want to create that legacy for the future?
I'd love it. My kids have already taken a shine to it, in particular because that's where me and my wife met. So they both seem to think that that's where you go to find a spouse.
Hey,
Fine.
Cornell is where it all goes down. We're going to talk about
It's a
dorms
very
in a minute.
sexy place. Graduate colleges, and 3 of them are state schools. So you get an Ivy League education for state school tuition, which sounds great to me. And plus, because it's such a big place, you really can study anything. and again, I'm just a big fan of Ithaca, and I'd love another excuse to go back there.
All right. If you went to college, please click like, please share. We want to share the message of the Homecoming Challenge. Again, this is Dana being Dana on Intellectual Radio and iHeart radio station. Michael, you answered this already, but did you marry anyone or another faith-based or Ivy League school?
My husband and I both graduated from North Central College with our bachelors, but we didn't know each other in college.
In college, you met. Michael, do you want to tell us how you met Jen on campus that fateful day?
Oh, it's a very good story because we had a class together. We had Native American Studies, and I still remember because we had Professor Bernd Lambert, who was a wonderful, very easy anthropology professor. And I wanted to take the class, and my wife is Native American and grew up on a reservation in New York. And so she took the class because, easy A. But she tells me this story to this day where I walked into class rode a motorcycle in college and so I came in with like the jacket and the helmet and like the door open, and there I am, and she's just like, "Yeah, I'm going out with that guy."
Did you walk in slow motion?
I kind of did.
That's what does it
kind of,
for.
yeah. And there's a wind machine, so it's the whole effect. But,
Oh, yeah.
But she tells this funny story about how she saw me go into class, and she's like, "Oh, I'm totally gonna go out with that guy."
Ride or die.
Well, but the funny thing is, and then I saw her, and I said the same thing to one of our mutual friends. I was like, "Oh, I'm totally gonna go out with that girl." And my friend kind of arranged the hookup. It was one of those ridiculous, like, fake meetings when you both knew the other one was going to be there. And you're like, "Oh, hey, aren't you in my class?"
Right.
But we both knew it was going on. So, yeah. And then literally that was 20 some years ago now. So something worked. It must have been the motorcycles.
Zoom. Anybody else? Did anyone go? I know, and Rakita, you said you went to DePaul. Talk about the 2 degrees that you achieved while you were there.
Yep. So undergrad, I got Bachelor of Science in Accountancy, and then
Experience different?
it was. for my graduate school, I was already, a full-time employee, working in my field. And the reason I chose DePaul because it was a part-time program, so I can go to school and continue to work. So that
Very different.
Yes.
Very different. Jordan, you're also a double dipper, but not the same schools.
Yep, not the same school.
Can you talk about your experience and your degrees at both?
Yeah, definitely. So at DePaul, I got my Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. Spent the majority of my time on the Lincoln Park campus, which was awesome. I loved it. I mean, I had amazing professors. One of kind of a mentor for me, and we we're Facebook friends. So
She may be watching now.
Yeah, maybe she is.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing.
Dr. Flynn, love you. Yeah, that was what got me to my first job after college. So I got an awesome internship working at Northwestern University School. I was working on a research study. I spent about 3.5 years there before deciding that I wanted to go and take the next step, and thought I was going to go the PhD route, but decided I wanted to work more with people with words, and decided to go ahead and get my master's. So grant writing is just not my favorite thing to do. It's just not. So I ended up at Benedict Close. I wanted to stay local. I love Naperville. So I could do that, live at home. I worked full time through both degrees, and
well, I appreciate you bringing your words tonight with these people.
Thanks.
What is your favorite thing as you reminisce about your school in the good old days? What's your favorite thing about your school?
I would have to echo what
Jordan
said about Lincoln Park campus. It is beautiful. It is just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, on a nice summer day when the weather is nice, it is just absolutely wonderful. The other thing is, even if you don't want to stay on that Lincoln Park campus, you are so close to going to wherever. If you want to go downtown, it's close. It's just you get to experience Chicago.
That's true.
Well, I'd say favorite things change after a while because I graduated in 1970.
All right.
That there are a group of fraternity brothers that get together still twice a year and go to homecoming every year.
What fraternity is that?
It's a local fraternity, Gamma Alpha Beta is a fraternity. And there's about 15 of us that get together every homecoming, and another 20 of us that get together every summer in Rockford. For a get together. Augustana was a small college, about 2,000 kids then, and the closeness of community is something that was really a part of Augustana and continues to be.
Those lifelong friendships and keeping those friendships, that human connection, that nurturing of those friendships over time as your situations change, right? You have kids, you have parents, people pass, people have hardships, so many things happen, and staying together and checking in with one another. I think it does something to the spirit to see people at homecoming and different things. We're going to talk about homecoming very soon.
Yep.
With respect to your school compared to others, so comparing Cornell to other Ivy Leagues, comparing your faith-based colleges to other faith-based colleges, who do you think had the best academics?
Well,
is it your school?
Obviously,
is it
my school. Come on.
Augustana, I think, did, but not because of me.
But Dana, that's sort of that's a trickier question for some of your schools, right? Because you got to look at it on a program by program basis.
Okay.
And what I can tell you is that for what I was studying the best, but
what was your major?
Engineering physics. But
and Jen
and my wife, yes. Actually, I had a double major in philosophy, so
You're so smart, Michael.
It's more like
handsome.
indecisive.
Motorcycle Mike.
Indecisive, but if you were to compare that with the philosophy program, at a Harvard or an MIT, not an Ivy League school, but the principle remains sound that it's a program by program thing. The academics were outstanding for a lot of stuff, and that's part of what attracted me to it and for what I went there for. But other schools, admittedly and begrudgingly, had solid programs as well.
Who had the best football team? Don't say DePaul.
No,
What?
we were
Basketball,
embarrassing
yeah,
by
basketball.
Ivy League
Right.
standards.
Yeah.
Augustana had a good program after I graduated. They went on to national championships and all that after I left.
Does
So,
hockey count? Hockey's like
Yeah.
football.
Sure, of course. What about basketball? Best basketball teams?
Augustana, once again, not when I was there, but they've gone to the nationals for about the last 4 years or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
DePaul's
So-
good.
Yeah, I mean we're
Yeah.
Big Ten technically,
Yeah.
and I mean I know they're a D1 school for all of their athletics, so
But they're legit D1.
Yeah.
Cornell's D1.
Uh-huh.
Like,
It's a very different world. It's a very different world.
so there's like D1A, D1B.
who is your biggest rivals athletically?
Depends on the sport.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I see, like both my schools were D3 and really.
North Central
Yeah.
was a big rival
Yeah,
of
and
Augustana.
were.
Now,
Mhm.
does that factor into like Thanksgiving and
conference.
holidays at home? Augustana.
No, it's just
all
that they
good.
were in the conference together, and so there was that rivalry. So my son graduating from North Central was, I don't know.
Sorry. I don't know why he did that.
I know.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
It really was terrible. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I blame the parents.
So we talked about sports. Michael, you said you played sports in college.
did.
Where
I
you
ran
play
track.
again? You ran
I
track?
ran track.
Did anyone else play sports in college? What about activities? What other activities involved in on campus?
I was involved in music. I played in band at North Central College all throughout all 4 of my years.
Nice.
Mhm.
What instrument?
I play flute.
I was in the Augustana choir, and
Were you like a tenor?
no, I think a bass. No, yeah, it was a baritone at
Awesome.
that point. Yeah, and then fraternity. I was involved in fraternity and theater. Did some musical kind of stuff there. Yeah.
So I participated in the National Association of Black Accountants for the student chapter, and also a student organization. So I'm treasurer of both of those organizations.
Counting the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for an accounting
exciting.
club, did everyone like fight to be the treasurer? Was
be the-
that kinda like-
Making money moves.
that's what everyone wanted to be, isn't it?
Exactly.
I think it was like
Exactly.
the opposite. You want to get a break from, doing other counting.
So, will anybody be attending their homecoming this year?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
You did? And so you connected with your fraternity
With my
brothers?
fraternity brothers.
Do you all have any traditions or things in particular that you do
Oh yeah.
that you can say, that you can talk about?
We embarrass the waitress that because we're a fraternity that likes to sing.
Oh,
And so we always sing the sweetheart song, our fraternity sweetheart song, to the waitress.
oh wow. Can
that
you
would
give us
be-
a little bit of that? This is your waitress, right? Right here.
Fill the cup with tenderness, drink to the girl of our dreams, toast of our fraternity, none other sweeter seems. Drink to all her loveliness, an angel set apart, sweetest girl in all the world, Gamma Alpha Beta, sweetheart.
But wait. Are we to believe you sang this to another woman?
I don't know what we.
Waitress.
I don't even know how you follow that. Woo! It is hot in here. Yes. Yes. So are you familiar with the Homecoming Challenge back campaign?
Dana, when I saw that Chris Evans was not who I thought Chris Evans was, and there was no shield or anything, I was quite disappointed and I stopped looking. But please
I'm so
explain.
sorry to disappoint you. Homecoming Challenge. I started with my own Chris Evans. It is our Go Back, Give Back campaign. And what it is we encourage and challenge everyone whenever you're back in your city of your alma mater or you're going, whether it's homecoming, dropping off kids, recruiting, speaking, visiting, that you swing by your freshman dorm room. And if your freshman dorm room is now a parking lot or an administrative building, you pick the newest dorm or any dorm or even just a student. We did the challenge at the University of Maryland back in August, And we stood outside the library because my friend Jen, hi Jen, she was a commuter student. So she didn't have a freshman dorm, but there's always a student who is a willing recipient of whatever gifts you have. The suggested donation is $20, but we encourage to not only give cash, but words of advice. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, because being away from home for the first time can be an incredibly lonely experience. Many times kids are away for the very first time and they don't know anyone. Many people are the first generation college students in their family. And so they're navigating these waters on their own. They're 17, they're 18 years old. They're out of state often, or they're away from home, hours away from everything that is familiar to them. And it can be, how did mentoring impact your collegiate experience? Jordan, you talked about a mentor of yours.
Yeah. So in my undergraduate, actually a professor that I really connected with, she an addictions class. That was the first class I took with her. And I just really identified and got connected with her, started doing RA work. So I was a research assistant for a couple of projects she was working on, actually related to loss. But actually mentored me through the process of looking for internships. She was the one who passed along the flyer to me that said, I think you should apply for this because I think you'd be really great at it. And it was happily ever after. But even after that, I reached out to her a couple times just to get some advice about, school and job programs I was looking at. And, she wasn't getting paid to do it. She met with me at Starbucks once, in her off time. And I know that she had a young child at the time. So I think that her taking the time, personal time, made my college experience so much. If I hadn't met her, it would have been a very different experience, and I could be in a very different place right now in my life. So
I think that's so important. Did you?
Freshman year, you kind of assigned a mentor, and I think just my experience that first assigned someone, maybe I didn't connect with them, as well as, finding that person that you really, that's important with having a mentor is someone that you feel safe to talk to, who you can open up. You feel like, your questions aren't stupid, or you're not looked at like you don't know what you're doing. You utilize that mentorship as much as I could have.
Okay. One of the things, Jordan, that you said that I liked was about taking the time, as a young person, feeling honored that the time, and that's what it's all about. Asking alums to take a fraction of, it doesn't take long, a fraction of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes to just go to your dorm and drop off some cash. Some of you have done the homecoming challenge already. And Rakita, you went to DePaul last month and participated. You accepted the challenge of the homecoming challenge. What can you tell us about your experience?
One, it was just really nice to go back to visit, just a reason to a purpose in going back, not just to party or, whatever. We don't have a football team, so it wasn't a football game. But I remember being a student, and I gave a gift, actually 2 gift cards, and it's like a Starbucks card. So something when I was in school, I would have appreciated that, something a little bit different than just eating that cafeteria food.
Should go down. I mean, that's what I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah. So when I did it, I went to my dorm, and unfortunately, the girls last year weren't there. They're going to be there this year. But we suggest people in the homecoming challenge to bring cards, just like these, and put your business card, put some money in there, and you can seal the envelope. And if no one's home, you can just slide it under the door. And then the kids open them, they reach out, and that's where you form the connection. If you're lucky, kids are there. Sometimes people just approach kids, randomly wherever they are.
And it's just like, hey, I've got something for you. And
Hey, what's your name?
Interesting.
How are you doing? Just like you would meet somebody in an elevator, just like you would meet somebody at a game or an event. It's just encouraging that organic you see somebody, and sometimes you can tell when somebody's struggling. You can look at people and tell when they're having a hard time. And it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who's having a rough day, but just any young student, someone that is appealing to you in a professional way. That you
Why'd you look at me?
Just say, hey,
what did I do?
Yeah, I see you, Mr. Slow Motion.
No,
But it's about, one of the things that, I want to address. We encourage the human connection on Dana Being Dana. And a lot of times we operate in our own silos. You don't greet people. We don't say hello enough. We don't say, how are you doing? We're just thinking, I got to go get my chai latte. And so we're just focused on what we're doing, what's on our mind, what we're experiencing. And the homecoming challenge encourages us to look up from our phone, look up from what we're doing, look outside of the purpose for you just being there, and talking and having a conversation, engaging with a stranger, a young person, a young, impressionable person who can benefit from your wisdom, your advice, your encouragement. I'm sure Enriqueta made those girls their day just by talking to them. And they were, when you saw the video, I watched the video and they were like, "Aw, this is so nice." Like, just the thought, because people don't do it. I think the thoughtfulness is what's missing more in our society. And I want to encourage through the homecoming challenge that type of thoughtfulness. So if you like to be thoughtful, please share the show and share some thoughtfulness so that we can seriously share this message with not only these schools, but with everybody, with what we're trying to do. The homecoming challenge is being done in a myriad of ways. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a specific. Rakita, do you want to talk about how you approached the girls professionally?
Sure. So,
Pretty clear on
I didn't remember what specific room that I stayed in when I was a freshman, so I do remember the actual dorm. So I went to the dorm. There were some girls that was in the lounge area. I told them, I'm doing this challenge, the homecoming challenge. I explained what it was
beautifully.
And I just explained, I just want to give you a small gift. I want to provide you my, just so you have someone to, whenever you need it. I hope to encourage you to continue with your studies and be focused and just inspire you to keep following your dream. And that's it.
That's awesome.
And I think just experience, hopefully, that touched them, and maybe they, once they become alums, will do the same.
How did you feel when you did the challenge?
I mean, good to go back, good to reminisce. But just good to, when you're a college student, you don't, you may not get that little splurge to have the Starbucks to, Whole Foods. So, and it's not really about getting gift card or that cash. It's really, like you said, about making connection and making yourself available to a young student, and really encouraging them. I think that's important, to encourage young students to, sometimes college can be hard. So it's important to encourage them to keep fighting through those struggles and studying hard, and, just to inspire them to keep going.
Bravo, Enriqueta. Yeah. Bravo. Thank you for doing it. I appreciate you not only doing it, but taking pictures and posting it on social media so that others can see via example of how it can be done. Your specific dorm. It's all about meeting students, placing donations under doors. I want to acknowledge one alum, and several people have done it, but LaTanya Johnson Weaver from Florida A&M, at her recent homecoming, she went to her dorm and she had beautiful pictures. She was asking the student who lived in her dorm room, she said, "What do you need? And, what can I do?" He said, "Ma'am, I just need groceries, ma'am." So she took him to Walmart and all that he needed. And he kept asking, like, "Is this too much? Is this too much?" She was like, "Get whatever you need." She was moved by his story. And that's one of the things that kids need. That's one of the things that they're missing is just things as simple as groceries or toiletries. We talked about this kind of in our pro, how some people feel like struggling through college is kind of a rites of passage, right? How many people had ramen noodles in school? I certainly had many on ramen noodles, but I do believe that hunger is different than it was back then. It's not just ramen noodles. It's not the whole, it just teaches you to work hard and to persevere. a lot of people had side jobs in college and they ate ramen noodles, and that's just how it goes. But I think today is very different. Does anybody want to comment on that?
Yeah, I would like to share at Augustana College. Well, first off, there are over 640 colleges and universities that have food pantries.
Say that number again. I think that's very important.
641 universities and colleges that have food pantries for students and there's 2,500 students there, and one would think if you're paying $30,000 a year that you oughtn't be hungry, and they certainly have a beautiful cafeteria there that I eat in all the time, and plenty of food there. But there are some that are struggling. As a matter of fact, there are 30 students every week that come to the food pantry on Thursdays during the afternoon and the evening. They have a food pantry that's stocked by students or by congregations in the area or whoever, and they have and so they come in and they take food off the shelf and put it in their backpack. They take as much as they want, but it's normally everyone just kind of takes a backpack full, and that kind of lasts them through the end of the week.
Yeah.
And
it's bridging that gap.
So they just need that to get on. Now they also have I'm trying to think of the name of the campus kitchen. Now there are not a lot of campus kitchens, but what happens is that back in 2016, there were some students at the school that saw they were throwing a lot of food away at the cafeteria. And so they said, can't some of that food be saved, and can't we use that for some folks that could use a meal? And so twice a month, they use food that was still usable to serve students who want. About 100 students that come to that meal. And part of it is students overcoming their, uncomfortableness with
pride.
I'm hungry. And so the teachers and the counselors, the proctors, I was one of the proctors at the dorms, are all trained by the college to be able to kind of spot some folks that might be in that situation, welcome them, give them some what it's all about, and the fact that we just want to help. They just want to help. And one other thing that you might not think about when it comes to hunger, transportation is an important thing as well. Every Saturday they have their transportation thing that takes them around campus will take students to Aldi to shop, because students can't get to the store because at least underclassmen don't have vehicles. And so there's a real concern, because when I always thought it was important that kids in grade school and high school had those breakfasts. I mean, the government says it was important for kids to be able to learn. They have to be fed, and so it's even more, as far as I'm concerned, more important that college students are able to have the nutrition that they need in order for their minds and their bodies to function in doing this learning process in college.
It doesn't change just because you get a little bit older. The need to be fed doesn't change. And I want to just touch on a couple of things that you said. Food insecurity, according to the College and University Food Bank Alliance, is defined as not having reliable access to sufficient and nutritious food. Not having reliable access to sufficient and nutritious food. And an estimated half of all college students, half of all, ALL, college students struggle with food insecurity at schools across the country, like the University of California, Berkeley, Northwestern University. At risk the most are former foster youth, again, people who come to school for the first time without a strong support system at home. LGBT students and students of color are at substantially increased risks. Food insecurity is lower graduation rates. Obviously, it's tough to learn when you're struggling to eat, to be able to focus and to concentrate. So anybody want to react to some of those statistics and what we've said?
I do, because when I first heard about this, my initial reaction was, well, I believe the numbers. I mean, I'm a scientist by education. I believe data, but my reaction, I want went to a very wealthy school, comparatively. So surely, and being a gigantic nerd, of course, I looked and tried to figure out what they were for Cornell, and I was mortified. Like it was like to the point where like I'm upset even like talking about it. But like something like 25% of students at a very rich school filled with private jets and limos have food insecurity. Yeah. And it's just like, I can't imagine. I've never known hunger in my life. I lived with every advantage and every opportunity, and I never went to bed hungry a day in my life. Not because I couldn't afford food. Right. Maybe because I had flu, because I was hungover. Yeah, but certainly not because of I couldn't afford it. And in the trees, and they've talked about starting like a student-run grocery store co-op. If anything, we're very creative in our problem solving, and for all the reasons you identified, students are embarrassed. And if there's a student-run co-op / grocery store where they can go and they can get whatever they need with everybody else, then there's no shame in that. And it encourages people to. The fact of the matter is, you can't do your work if you don't know how you're going to eat. Mm-hmm. I mean, ignoring the fact that you're thinking about it is the fact that, chemically your brain doesn't function without sufficient amounts of fat and other vital nutrients that you can't get. And if your life is existing on beer, and again, the easiest thing to get, you're not going to have that. So it was, I blame you for this, Dana, for making me do some hard research.
Am I making you cry, Michael?
You are, because the fact of the matter is, my checks are going to now have to get bigger. They're going to have to go to a different place, but it's so thanks for that.
I'm sorry to upset you.
I think too, it's important to think about how insecurities also impacts students' mental health. And so on the campuses, a lot of them will suffer with higher rates of depression or anxiety because they're not able to get the nutrition that they need, or the shame associated with, I don't have access to the money to buy the food.
It can be attributed to other things.
And it can affect their education. One of the things that to me was that there are a lot of students who aren't able to take part in internships that are offered because the internships don't pay, but they get to work at some of the big corporations in Rock Island. They get to work
all that experience.
But those who are food insecure have to use whatever they have in order to eat. Survive. And so they have to continue to work at free for an intern. So they do not get that part of their education that so often others are able to do. And there is a coalition of colleges that have food banks. That's where I got the number 600. There is an issue.
There is.
15 years ago, there were 15 colleges that had food banks.
15 years.
Some folks are beginning to take a look at this in their schools. What are even have worse as far as food insecurity. 56% of community college students have some form of insecurity, as well as homelessness and all of those kinds of issues. But community colleges have even higher.
And a lot of the schools have started to respond to the need and to the food insecurity. I will say last year there was a hunger strike at Spelman and Morehouse. Spelman is where I attended. Morehouse is the all-male school across the street. And as a result of students striking on campus, the two colleges got together and they agreed to allocate 1,000 free meals per year to students in need. So I want kids and people to understand that you do have the power to make a difference. Getting together, moving in action will help people. The hunger strike allowed for 14,000 free meals to be allocated to students. And Houston Community College is providing grocery scholarships. So schools are responding, and they're starting to understand the need to enable their students to stay in school. And this is just a place where we feel like the Homecoming Challenge can make a difference. That young student at Florida A&M who's the recipient of lasting him maybe. And so you just never know who you can bless, who you can touch in a very organic way. That restores, that keeps your pride, your dignity. It's just saying, hey, I'm excited when I find a dime on the ground in the loop, right? Just woo, that shiny silver thing, right? So imagine for somebody to come to just knock, people always say, no one's just going to come knock on your door. Well, you can with the homecoming challenge. And that's what it's all about.
Being a Christian and his Christian school.
And his waitress.
And his waitress. I did wait tables in my youth.
We know.
Yeah.
You're waiting tables tonight.
I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
I do this.
We were talking about waiting tables, being a Christian.
Oh, people of faith, that Scripture, be it regardless of religion, really talks about the poor and the hungry.
Yes.
I mean, like Jesus had this thing about you go out and you feed them, folks. That we are called to take care of those who have. And I can tell you, the two of us have plenty of food to share.
Absolutely. It's all about looking out for other people and doing what you can to help others. Of giving back. So one of the final questions I have is, how important is it to give back? Very, I guess.
A lot.
Very, very.
The answer is very.
Yes.
Very.
What type of alum did you need when you were in school? When you were in college? Would have made a difference for you in your experience?
So I had to think about this, when you asked us before, the show, in preparation for the show. And I think one of the things in college, especially in undergrad, that I really didn't get was learning how to network works, even after, college. So often, you graduate from college, you get your job, and you don't keep those networks. That's very important. I think as an undergraduate, if I had an alum to reach out to say, okay, make sure you keep your network up. That would have been helpful.
I think it's a learned skill.
Yes.
And that's one thing you can do as a mentor to these young students is they're all up in their technology. They can find some apps like the weather, but they know now how to form relationships because we're so anti-social. Is the mentoring on Facebook? I have to get my mentees to call me.
Okay.
Because they're so used to texting. You mean like a text? No. Like a call.
You can talk into that phone.
A phone makes phone calls?
A phone makes phone calls.
I'm surprised they text and they don't make you Snapchat.
Exactly. I don't even know what Snapchat is, to be honest. And that's so important. These are things and ways you can help kids and it's just priceless. It's priceless. So I think Enriqueta said it earlier, the gift card, the $20, that's just a token. It's really the business card. It's the contact information, the staying in touch, the mentoring, that long-lasting, long-term impression, the difference in people's lives. Now, don't get me wrong. The money's important. I can make $20 go in school, particularly if it was in 1970, right? It can go a long way.
I think that was tuition.
Exactly. Well, I just want to thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate this. I appreciate a chance to talk in a small group about the Homecoming Challenge and what it means. And one of the very important issues that I think the Homecoming Challenge addresses is two. One is mentorship, and also food insecurity. These are ways that you can make a difference. It's so much more than just, a drop-in, which I think is huge, but I think it can be so much more if you want it to be. There's nothing wrong with sliding it under the door and just going on about your life, which is cool too. But I think some of those people who have really challenged and accepted it and made a difference, we thank everybody. All of you for tuning in. Thank you so much for sharing the show. Next week on Dana Being Dana, it is our grand finale for the Homecoming Challenge season. And we're going back to the beginning with Morehouse and Spelman. We've got another large show. We've got a ton of people from Morehouse and Spelman. And we're all going to be promoting the Homecoming Challenge. We're going to be talking about our schools, what makes it so special, and how we started the Homecoming Challenge last year. We will be live at a special location, so you don't want to miss us. Please tune in and join us. Thank you all so much. This is Dana Being Dana. Bless you. Thank you for tuning in. Good night.